go from the national forest down to the protected ocean, and it's just a really special place.
I guess I didn't really know how special it was, though, until I moved away to Portland and came back and saw all the potential here.
We're uncrowded, we're unspoiled, and we're a little difficult to get to, but my God, once you come here, you fall in love.
We just thought if we could pull people to come into this Wild Rivers Coast and stay longer and explore a little farther into our backcountry, there was a lot of opportunities for them to experience.
I think our whole future is at stake here. This area is ready to go. We just need to give it a little kick in the butt.
Skeptical because I didn't see far enough ahead that we actually could collaborate regionally, and I'm pleasantly surprised. It's been amazing.
The Rural Tourism Studios was the first time we were able to come together as a region to talk about the future of our economy.
If we can have a strong tourism economy in this area, it's going to benefit the whole community.
We have to rely on ourselves, and I think through this program, it's sort of opened our eyes.
Apologize to the public for the delay here, but we're ready to go. I'd like everybody please to stand for the national anthem. Or pledge allegiance, excuse me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, Assessor Colin, are the speakers working out there? No? Okay. One more slight delay while you're taking care of that, Council Huddle. Thank you. Good morning, all. Introductions. Commissioner Gold to my right. I have Council Huddle, Staff Jesuit. In the audience, we have Gordon Clay, head of our Suicide Prevention Committee. We have Matt Hall. We have former Commissioner George Rose. We have Sheriff John Ward. We have Emergency Management Coordinator Jeremy Dumeyer, Public Health Administrator Cherie Ward. Thank you all for coming. Julie Swift, Head of HR, Assessor Colin out in the hall, and we are spreading our meeting out here so that we can abide by the Governor's request to have a minimum of 25 people.
Do we want to check to make sure Commissioner Pash is on the phone?
And I'm getting to that. Yes, thank you. Okay. Commissioner Pash, are you able to hear okay?
Yes, I am. I just want to let you know the live feed is about 30 to 40 seconds behind.
Okay. Well, we hope you're getting better. We appreciate you calling in. Sorry you can't be here. Pretty busy day. We're going to try and move the meeting fairly quickly. A lot of important items. I just have a quick opening comment. Then I want to give Commissioner Gold and Commissioner Pash a quick chance to say what we've been dealing with the last, particularly the last month. And I do want to tell, we are going to have some public comment here in just a moment. I want you to come up and adjust the microphones each time, if you would, please. Just a little disclaimer, if someone wants to criticize or plans to criticize the president, our governor, any of our staff, that's not going to be accepted. We'll just hope for a quick meeting here so we can get everybody back to their homes and their businesses. And it's been a trying time for absolutely the last month. Some of us have been here 24/7. We're reading everything we get our hands on. I absolutely want to give kudos to the president for his conduct and his effort in battling the coronavirus, the COVID-19. Certainly Governor Brown has, in my opinion, done an excellent job. We have pulled our county together, and I want the citizens to know we're not lagging here. We have pulled everyone together. We have worked very hard to be informed, to be responsive and not reactive. Matt Hall reminded me the other day, this is like the World War II spirit. Our kids and grandkids are depending on us to kind of get this right, and we think that there's going to be some great ensuing prosperity post-war. So I don't know when we're going to get to the top of that curve, but cooler heads have really prevailed here, and I'm incredibly thankful for that. So yes, happy on the progress. Commissioner Pash or Commissioner Gold, would you like to offer a comment this time?
I have quite a bit to offer. I've been working on this for, I don't know, 2 or 3 days straight, trying to get information out to people. I'm concerned that people are basing their decisions on Facebook posts or that sort of thing, so I'm trying to get out websites that people can get factual information from. Also, I'm very impressed with some of the people here. One of our janitorial staff got sick, and so people are stepping up. Beth Barker Hidalgo over in the Colvin building, I talked to her, and she is going to be making sure that their entire building is clean and sanitized. Also, there was an individual that sent me, they were very upset that they didn't have the money for electric. I contacted Coos Curry Electric, and they're working with these folks. Cherie Ward has been amazing. We've got our declaration of emergency going here. She and the OHA representative were here, and she's up to speed. Also, Jeremy Dumeyer. I'm impressed with what's going on there. Heard this morning that there's a group called Shopping Angels that are helping individuals, elderly individuals, or people who are compromised do their shopping. This started somewhere else, but I think it could be started here. We've got friends and neighbors helping each other. That's what we want to do. We want to, I would say, don't panic. Prepare for the worst. Thank you.
Very good, Commissioner Gold. Thank you. Commissioner Pash?
I don't have a lot. All I want to say is that what I've heard locally here is how well the staff has been pulled together and coordinated with each other, and everyone reaching out to each other for help and assistance. And I would just like to say thank you to them for that. That's all I have.
I have one other thing I forgot. I reached out to the food bank in South Curry, and they have been making these snack packs for the kids, over 1,000, which is amazing. I've reached out to the schools to see if they're checking on daycare and what they're doing as far as food for the kiddos, and they're all working together. So kudos to all of those folks.
Thank you again. It's been good to work with some of the long-term public officials who've been elected and serving Curry County, some of them for 30 years. Assessor Colin has been working behind the scenes, been very helpful. 2 press releases the sheriff sent out recently that are very good and timely. He's been working here for many, many years. We're going to forego the line of duty desk, not because it's not important, but because I think we can delay it for a week. And we may end up having a meeting next couple of weeks. We'll just see how that goes. And sent out an email this morning, basically said, hey, are we going to be okay if we have 25 people show up? And Johnny on the spot, people were here moving chairs out. That's why we've got you kind of spread out. Everybody knows this is a thermometer, old-fashioned thermometer. That's one of the first symptoms you can have if you have this COVID pathogen virus. And so my mom gave me this, and my temperature again this morning was down just a little bit. But I encourage you, if you have any access to the good old-fashioned thermometer, monitor yourself. That's a good way to go. On the screen here, and I put them out all over most of the chairs and in the hallway. This is the president's effort to slow the spread of this disease. We keep hearing social distancing, and we're into day 3 on his plan. Most of the states have aggressively adopted this. Monday, governor declared the Oregon state of emergency. 24 hours later, shut all the schools, you might recall, and then the devastation of so many of our smaller businesses, restaurants, etc., related, that have been shut down. So we are, our hearts are broke for those people, and we're going to do everything we can through the SBA. You might recall the president set up a $50 billion appropriation, and I think Congress is well on their way to approving that. And that will be basically $1 billion on the average for each state. So we're going to help our businesses all we can, so we, of course, get closer to the tourism season. So spread this information out. I had another friend say, panic is the opposite of, or usually a response to a lack of information. So the information's been out there, both the state good. And I don't want to go without mentioning Tree Ward and the OHA, other counties that we've been working with. I really think that within 30 days we're going to be on the downside of this. I know that might sound overly optimistic, but it's truly what I believe, and better days coming, and we'll learn greatly from this. So, Assessor Cullen, or Sheriff Ward, did you have something either one of you wanted to offer this morning? You can go first, Sheriff. Commissioner Pash, how's our volume? Are you still doing okay?
Yeah, everything's fine other than a 40-second delay in the video.
Okay, so we need to turn his volume down just a little bit, Eric. Okay, Sheriff, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sorry you're feeling bad there, Commissioner Pash. I basically went through a sickness here, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, feeling much better, but it was not the COVID-19. Commissioner Gold, you mentioned something about social media and things like that, and everybody's out there hoarding a lot of the items out of the stores. There's no toilet paper. Thank goodness I got a cat at home, but he's self-cleaning, so it's no problem.
What's that got to do with it now?
But anyway, we've done a lot of different things with the Sheriff's Office and how we're doing our operation. Excuse me. We've been on conference calls daily with the Jail Command Council, the Enforcement Command Council, and talking about the governor's declaration and executive orders. What we've done is we've minimized a lot of things that people were taken in to help. We're not doing fingerprinting for people who come in and like to get employment purposes. The concealed handgun licenses, we are continuing to do a little of the renewals of the concealed handgun license, since we don't have to have really direct contact. They can stay in the lobby. We're asking people who need to have law enforcement services, they come in, we'll still help them. We're going to let them know that if they're sick or showing any signs or symptoms, they'll have to leave, and we can contact them by phone. Again, like I say, I've shut down the substation in Harbor. We have a lot of elderly folks that come in and use that. I don't want to inadvertently spread anything. Our parole and probation officers are down there, are limiting the number of people that they see. They're kind of doing their monitoring by phone at this point. We're not allowing any visitation in the jail at this point. Even the attorneys are coming through who normally would come into the back and into the attorney room and meet with their clients. They're all doing it through glass, and we're not seeing any problems that stem from that so far. We're doing a lot of the self-cleaning over there, the sanitizing, and we're just making sure that anybody that comes in, we screen them with a wand thermometer to make sure they don't have any type of temperatures if they do have to come in. But like I say, we're limiting who we arrest, or any agencies that arrest anybody. We're not taking anybody that's less than a A or B felonies or the Measure 11 crimes. We still take the mandatory arrest for the restraining order violations, the sex assaults, and the domestic violence. They'll still come in. But any warrants or any nuisance crimes, thing like that, we're having our officers and asking the other agencies to issue cites in lieu of arrest. And most of those are going out past May 1st for the citations for appearance. And that's at the request of the circuit courts. They don't want anybody cited in prior to that because they're making a lot of changes over there. And we're following in right in line along with all the other sheriff's offices and jails in the state of Oregon. We figure if we don't do something to stay in line with them, and something unforeseen happens and we maybe inadvertently spread, and we don't take the precautions for that, I don't want the ramifications of that afterwards. So we're doing our best that we can to limit the exposures and the spread. At that point, that's about all I got. Appreciate everybody else that's working hard. I know the cooperators around the county are pitching in and doing their part as well. That's about all I got to say.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thanks.
Questions? Mr. Pash? 40 seconds. Okay.
No,
Thank you.
no, it's not a 40-second delay on the phone, it's just a 40-second delay on the video, but you
Okay.
might have a 5-second delay if you ask me something because I'm taking the phone off mute.
I understand. Thank you again. Assessor Cullen?
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Cullen, Curry County Assessor. I've been checking with other assessors around the state to see how, if they are adjusting their business operations. And one thing that seems to be consistently occurring is most offices that have responded seem to be trying to limit public contact in the office to by appointment only. And I think probably here at the Curry County Assessor's Office, what we're going to look to do is limit our business hours that we're open to the public. Probably going to go back to a 9 to 4 schedule. We'll also be encouraging the public to make appointments so we can do their business with them. Much of the information that we get people coming in our doors for can be found on our web page on the GIS Assessor's Information site. But if people still have other things that they feel like they need to come in for, we're certainly willing to make an appointment with them, have them come in and take care of their needs. We'll just, we're going to have to be practicing better cleaning around the office and social distancing as much as we can. It's important, I think, probably for all county departments that we continue to get our work done, because these are public services and now it's going to have consequences later. One thing about this virus, it seems to me like conditions are changing, if not daily, if not hourly, certainly daily. And I think that the last set of instructions that we got from Director of Operations Schmelzer before she left, I think that's probably already dated information.
It is.
And I think you had an excellent idea yesterday, Commissioner Boyce, when you suggested that county department heads and elected officials maybe meet by phone. I think you suggested maybe as much as 3 times a week. Could be more as quickly as this thing is changing.
True.
To where we can get together and talk about what our business operations should be looking like and how we're dealing with this. It's important not only to the public that we keep them as safe as possible, but to our own employees. We want to keep them as safe as possible because we still need to get the work done. And I'm very concerned about that. If coronavirus were to sweep through the assessor's and tax collector's office, that could delay us who knows how long in collecting taxes next year for the districts. And we still have a 3rd trimester. By trimester might also be the very people that are in the service industries that are suffering the most right now, or stand to suffer the most right now. So we've got some real difficult times ahead. I hope, I want to take your optimistic viewpoint that we'll be past the worst of this in 30 days, and I hope we are. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to come up here and let the public know where we'll be headed.
Thank you. Questions?
I'm just impressed with what you've been doing. I heard from the recorder also as far as measures they're going to be taking, and they're looking to other counties for models for doing that. So
Thank you,
I think
Commissioner.
that's good.
Commissioner Pash?
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Gold, we probably should do amended agenda items real quickly here.
Right.
You first?
I would like to put the BOPTA property tax appeals on the consent agenda. Why don't you just make that I? And also, I would like to add, under discussion items, getting possible part-time employees for janitorial / sanitizing. So under discussion, make that item,
9E?
yeah, 9E, yeah.
Okay.
Those were the only things I had.
Thank you again. Commissioner Pash, agenda item amendments?
So I'm clear though, Commissioner Gold, you said you wanted to use 8A and change it to 7I?
No. Make 9A and put that to 8. I guess it would be I.
So for Commissioner Pash, there's two agendas. There's a revised agenda and an original agenda, and I think 8 and 9 might have changed on.
Yeah, I'm looking at
revised.
the amended one
Yeah.
right now.
Commissioner Pash, if, okay, the 5, the declaration is declaring the emergency. We're going to get to that right immediately after public comment if the board chooses. The only thing I have on the agenda amendments, I just have a couple quick questions for Roadmaster Christensen. Move 8C on the Day Wireless Radio Project to right under quarterly reports 7C. Like I said, I just have a couple quick questions. That's all I have, Commissioner Gold.
That's fine. I move that we approve the agenda. Oops, there's another one.
Sorry, thanks,
Excuse
Mr.
me.
Chair. That's okay. I would like to
I
add.
don't mean to overlook you, sir.
Thank you. Just add an executive session topic, 192.660 sub 2 sub, I believe it is H, which is litigation or pending and likely to be filed, and then also 192.660 sub 2 sub D, labor negotiations, to talk about the collective bargaining agreements and the impact of the possible employment steps we may need to take with respect to the COVID on that.
So I'll second that motion with those amendments. Commissioner Gold, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Yes.
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
First on public comments, please, would be Mary Rowe.
If I could, Commissioner, before this vote starts,
Yes, certainly. Go ahead.
yes, before Ms. Rose starts, she did call me last week and asked me if she could speak for 4 minutes instead of 3, and I told her that would be okay. She hasn't been there in a while.
Certainly. Thank you. Welcome, Mary.
Okay.
Just the microphone there on the right, just a little bit to you.
I'm not good at that. I can't see, so
Okay.
I'm out of the side. I think they're pretty good. Thank you, though. I'm Mary Rowe. I am concerned about the health and safety of those who are homeless in our entire community. I asked our new public health director and our emergency services director for information about our county's plan to prevent and, if necessary, deal with the coronavirus with respect to our homeless population, given that our homeless have fewer tools to protect themselves and are more susceptible to infections, have no real way to quarantine themselves, and move from place to place, which could spread a virus. Neither director had my requested information. I have been concerned for the past few years about the spread of contagious diseases in the homeless population and about any resulting spread to the larger community. I'm getting feedback. Am I supposed to get of an MSW who advocates for the homeless and has done street outreach to them. Most people don't know what social workers do. In 1926, Harry Hopkins, then director of the New York Tuberculosis Society, who went on to become an architect of Roosevelt's New Deal, wrote, quote, "The fields of social work and public health are inseparable. Social work is interwoven in the whole fabric of the public health movement and has directly influenced it at every point," unquote. Social workers have defined and addressed social determinants of health for over a century and a half. I also used to be a licensed healthcare provider. June 18th, 2019, USA Today by Chris Woodward, quote, "Experts said growing homeless populations are increasingly susceptible to outbreaks of contagious diseases, including typhus, hepatitis A, and Shigella. Police officers and city employees have caught such diseases. Hepatitis outbreaks in several cities were traced to homelessness. There were many deaths from this, spread mainly through fecal contact. Last year, Seattle had higher levels of strep and Shigella. Public health officials tied both to homelessness. Peter Bielison, Director of Health Services for Sacramento, says the homeless are more susceptible to disease. It more quickly spreads among them with more severe cases, partly due to a lack of hygiene resources. Our county has a responsibility during the coronavirus emergency and declared lack of housing state of emergency to provide help to our homeless. Needs are hand washing stations and porta potties, garbage cans in harbor, track phones filled with contacts and set up to receive county alerts by volunteers, masks, gloves, for emergencies. All Care and Advanced Health could help fund it. Summer has the info. Designated camps with porta potties, hand washing stations, dumpsters, and security. Outreach to homeless by experienced employees and volunteers to educate, assess health issues, and provide survival tools. Curry County no longer has a shelter nor safety nets. 94145 5th Place, Gold Beach, which currently houses Oregon DHS, which wants to move, is for sale. $2 million asking price. It could be an emergency weather shelter with the inexpensive addition of 2 showers and fencing on 2 sides. The parking lot is currently under police camera surveillance and could provide a safe place for those living in vehicles to park at night. We could ask an experienced organization like St. Vincent de Paul to rent and run the facility, or Curry currently has an experienced shelter worker who is available. Please have a workshop with advocates and service providers for the homeless to discuss this issue. Thank you.
Mary, thank you. Questions, Commissioner Gold?
No, she covered it well. She did a
Commissioner
good job.
Pash?
No, I'm good.
Mary, are you going to leave that for the record that we can put?
I'll drop off a copy later today, and I can also give you some information. I've gathered a lot of information to accompany this, for instance, the name of the realtor and some 9 places that I think would be good for track phones to be available, 3 places at each city for homeless people that I think would be the easiest for them to get it. I've already talked to the head of DHS, and she said that she would, she likes the idea of DHS being one of the places to provide track phones. Part of the problem is that a lot of homeless people don't have about 30 days to get one. They are eligible to get Lifeline phones, but it takes about 30 days.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
Thank you again. Be sure we get that copy. David Barnes? Okay. So that's your topic of interest today. Thank you. George Rhodes?
First of all, I'd like to thank the Board of Commissioners for allowing me to come before you today and address this issue. I'm going to address it from a selfish perspective as a businessman in our community. My business currently pays approximately $10,000 a year in taxes to the community. And because of the governor's shutdown, we'll be unable to continue to perform the necessary tasks that would enable us to keep our doors open. We have currently 22 employees. Those employees are in a situation where they're not sure of their future because I can't address their future. The current Oregon statute that declares the state of emergency is not appropriate to address the needs of the SBA funding. So I'm here today to encourage this board to approve your declaration emergency and request that the governor put the right one forward so that businesses in Curry County can access these SBA funds. Thank you very much.
Would you mind standing for just a second? You said the right declaration. Isn't it a different declaration that represents the SBA process and the $50 billion that the president's talking about? I mean, we're hearing everything from every citizen is going to get $1,000 to low interest loans, all the above. But I do recognize, and this is a little lengthy here and a little bit more detailed than we need. But this is the process that goes through from the county levels, and I know some of the other counties are on this. But I agree with you; it is a different declaration through the State House to the federal government.
That's correct.
Yes.
The declaration that the county files is useless unless the state also files. Mm-hmm. We can't access the funds as business people without both actions. So it's important that the governor's office also file the proper paperwork, and I know that you have a copy of that, and you also have some copies of other declarations that have been prepared by other counties. I know that Washington, Clackamas, Clatsop, those are three of the counties that I know that have already approved their declaration. Some of the counties that neighbor Idaho are eligible simply because of their proximity to Idaho, which has also filed the proper state declaration of emergency. As of yesterday, Curry County was not eligible for any of the emergency funding.
And that's an excellent point. We all know a variety of businesses that are greatly impacted by this, and so we've got our homework before us, and we can't waste, in talking to you on the phone yesterday, a reminder, we can't waste 1 minute on this. It is a little bit confusing, however, to the public, because here's the Clatsop, and it's interesting that we both come up with this, but most of the counties are proceeding this way. The declaration of emergency we're going to work on today is basically to the point when we exhaust all of our county resources. That's the qualification, and we went through that with the fires and the floods and, in the last 2 or 3 years. So, but this is something I agree we need to get on right away to clearly understand the differences. I think we'll get some help. We'll pull our people together, and really appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and absolutely a wise reminder.
Well, as you said, it doesn't just impact the restaurant industry, it impacts the service industry as a whole. I have a friend that has a B&B, and she indicated to me just last week she had 25 cancellations in one day. Mostly people that would visit Curry County from overseas because that's the primary business that she does. So, I think if you look at the number of restaurants and the number of service providers in our community, you'd find that the economic significant to the community if we're unable to provide not only the employment but the revenue source. Our revenue flows down to many different entities, CTR, the Prince Curry Co-op, the gas company, the water district, the power district, the sewer district. All of those entities benefit from the service industry. And if we're not able to survive this, it's going to have a huge, huge economic impact. You mentioned the fires. That's one of the things that's making this so difficult. Many of these businesses haven't recovered from those fires over the last 2 years. So this funding is just basically bridge funding to help us get through to a point in time where the industry in Oregon recovers. We've been struggling for a number of years now, and if we don't have access to this funds, it's going to be critical to every community in Oregon, not just Curry County.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for making the trip here, Commissioner. Commissioner Gold.
I just have one comment. I came across some information yesterday about what they're doing in Northern California. And California is helping small businesses. So I did forward that information to the governor's office, asking that she, look at that and see what we can do about getting some help here in Oregon for our small businesses.
Well, I think that's really a great scenario. I just don't see that the resource that the state has or the county has is significant enough to really impact what's needed here. So
we're going to have to go to the feds.
Yeah, it's got to be a much bigger community that gets involved in this than just Curry County.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Council Huddle.
Commissioner Rhodes, thanks for coming and
thank you.
Making us aware of this issue. I was trying to take notes when you were talking. As you know, we're going to be taking a comprehensive look at our emergency declaration and make sure we get the right language in there. And you're saying that we should request the governor make a further declaration or amend her declaration to include triggering the federal help for the SBA. Is there any, and I'm not sure if it was some of the material we saw here, is there any magic language or federal executive order numbers we can refer to when we make this request of the governor, make her job easier? And if you need to get that to me after the meeting or during some break, that's fine. But do you have any numbers or, executive order from the president or any of that kind of stuff we can refer to?
Yes, sir. There is information available. I believe that most of that information, as I recall, is covered in the documents that you have here. It refers to all of the different legislative requirements for the governor to declare the emergency. We also have an old declaration back from when we had the tsunami years ago that went to the governor that also includes that language.
And the sinkhole as well, I think.
Yeah, possibly the sinkhole as well. But I'm not sure currently. I've been out of office for a long time, thankfully. So I'm not so sure what the current requirements are, but as I understand it, they're pretty much the same.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to be calling on you some more. And I also have a document here from Economic Development Coordinator Summer Madison. She worked on and put out Monday afternoon, which are 3 pages of very good information that she's currently working to get to all of our companies in the county. And it is the sequence and at least the starting process initially, what they need to do and how we can help them get on board here. So you'll be getting a copy of that as well.
Okay, and I also understand that the county may need some numbers from local businesses to help support this, and certainly I would be more than happy to try to reach out to some of the local business owners to pull that information together.
Commissioner Gold?
One other thing that I think is very important as we go through this process, that you log those losses daily and so forth that you're having, so that when you have to fill out all the paperwork to get the funds, you're going to be prepared.
Well, that's a good point. Anyone that in business here that's not using a point of sales type of system or some accounting systems, QuickBooks or whatever, should maintain a really good record.
Right.
Some of the B&Bs and the smaller businesses, it might be very difficult for them, but daily records, cancellation records, volume records, cost. We've maintained a service profile of just takeout food for the last couple. We've had just a skeleton crew on, but right now we probably won't be able to sustain that because the cost of even managing the resource to have the employees there is not significant enough to cover the sales that we're doing. It's really hard to pay $500 a day in labor costs and do $300 in sales. That makes no sense to continue to do that.
Totally understood, but really important to keep those records.
Absolutely.
Council Huddle, did you have anything additional?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Pash?
Well, I just wanted to comment and say that I think Mnuchin was supposed to get some direction today. Was going to meet with the House. I know they kind of rushed that bill through, and they were going to try and clarify some of the muddy water on that and give more direction to the governors in each respective state as to how that process will work and how they will need to apply. But from what I understand, all applications will go through the federal government, not state government. But they're supposed to clarify some of that today, so we might want to pay attention to news feeds on that from finance and also from the SBA.
Yes, Commissioner, there are, the websites are up and running with the SBA. The problem there again is you get to the point where it asks if your state, what state you're in and what county you're in, and when you put that information in, you get a reply that they're not eligible for those funds at this point because the county and the state haven't declared the proper state of emergency to access those funds. So the system is set up where that business people can access the website and the application quickly. It just is not, the information that they have doesn't allow us to complete the application. And I've also heard that as of yesterday, there were issues with unemployment because the state unemployment website had kind of crashed because of the burden that it can't handle.
You're talking about Oregon?
Yes, Oregon. The state of Oregon unemployment. You know, we have, you know, many people in Curry County that will be able to draw unemployment for a limited period of time, but they can't even get through on the website at this point. Some of my staff has, you know, called me and said, you know, we haven't been able to even fill out the applications for unemployment.
Tell your people, actually I learned from Association of Oregon Counties last week that there's an effort, if they haven't already completed it, to forego the waiting week for new unemployment claims. So also, I'm going to be calling on you to see if you might consider heading up a task force if the board could put that together. And just on, I think your knowledge of the county, your knowledge of this whole SBA federal process and how we might recover from this would be very beneficial to numerous companies, businesses, our employers. So I'll even personally put gas in your car to come back and forth from Brookings. You know?
No, that won't be necessary. I have plenty of time these days.
Yeah, you know? I know.
Time is not an essence or an issue for me, you know, given the circumstances.
Well, I appreciate if you might consider that if we can put that together as soon as possible.
I definitely would consider that.
And you'd be welcome to come to our department head, and you know that's going to be an open deal to people, so we can get as much input and counsel as possible. Thank you again.
Well, as you said, you know, fear is just a situation that turns into panic when people don't have the proper information. So,
I heard that from somebody this morning.
Yeah. So if we can, the better we can inform everybody in our community, the less fear we have. You know, panic is where people go buy toilet paper and not food. So we want to make sure we're got people the proper information so that they can make good decisions.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Gordon Clay, please.
Gordon Clay, Chair of the Curry County Suicide Awareness and Prevention Council, Brookings, Oregon. Question: what are boys less likely to do than girls? Boys have been brought up in a culture to stuff feelings. Big boys don't cry, handle it, don't ask for help, man up, and the messages go on. So when it comes to self-injury, they go numb. Why should we be concerned? People often keep a secret, but the urge to self-injure isn't uncommon. Over 2 million Americans currently engage in self-injury. While the target groups are adolescents and young adults, people of all ages practice self-injury. Myth: one of the misconceptions is that only females do it. While girls 14 to 17 are hospitalized 4 times more often than boys, 30 to 40% of people who self-injure are males, with the highest segment being white male adolescents. Self-injury means hurting yourself on purpose. For boys, the most common method is hitting themselves or an object like a wall or cigarette burns. The most common among girls is cutting with a sharp object or pulling out hair or picking at wounds that prevent healing. Myth: people who self-injure enjoy the pain or can't feel it. Self-injury most often hurts. Sometimes feeling the pain is the whole point, to reconnect with their own body or just to feel something. Myth: self-injury is untreatable. Although it can be difficult to control or stop, most people are able to stop at some point because it's most often used as a coping mechanism. However, the practice typically does not stop until the individual has other methods to cope and is fully ready to stop. Myth: self-injury is a suicide attempt. Most studies find that self-injury is often undertaken as a means to avoid suicide. What is important is to get a handle on it before the pattern gets well established, since 70% of those with a history of self-injury have attempted suicide at least once.
Gordon? We're running a real fast meeting today.
Okay. I didn't have 3 minutes?
Yes, you do.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. Myth: there's nothing I can do. There are many ways to help. Instead of scolding or looking down on someone, be as supportive and understanding as you can to let them know you care. A slightly different subject. Some people in your world might be feeling anxious, be physically unwell, or concerned about their well-being. At a time we're being asked to physically distance ourselves from one another, you can definitely be a listening ear and a virtual shoulder to learn on. When you connect, consider the tone and language they are using. Are they posting more or less often? Are they answering your calls? Are they communicating as you would expect? Trust your gut and ask, are you okay? Listen to it with an open mind. Ask what you can do to help, and don't let them isolate. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Next item, declaration, emergency in Curry County, and requesting a governor's declaration of state of emergency. Mr. Dumeier, are you first?
I am. So good morning. For the record, again, Jeremy Dumeier, Curry County Emergency Manager. Sheree Ward, Public Health Administrator, will be joining me shortly. So, real quick, on February 28th of this year, the first presumptive positive case of coronavirus COVID-19 presented itself in the state of Oregon. On Wednesday, March 5th, while I was attending training at the Center for Domestic Preparedness in Anniston, Alabama, I activated the Emergency Operations Center by virtual method as we began to lean forward in this response. We've been working with our partners, local, state, and federal, as we respond to the COVID-19 situation. As of this morning, as of 8:30 this morning, there are 65 presumptive positive cases in the state of Oregon. 21 of those are in Washington County, 15 in Linn County. Neighboring to Curry County, Douglas has 1 case, Jackson County has 2, Klamath County has 1. There are no positive cases in Delaware County, Coos County, or Curry County. However, the EOC is actively working on this response. As of this morning, 14 counties have submitted emergency declarations. More counties to follow. Before the board is a declaration of emergency. I am asking that the declaration be signed by the board today so I can submit it to the state. I've heard some comments today so far from the public and from commissioners. I want to make some things clear. The state of Oregon has declared a state of emergency regarding to the COVID-19 response. The federal government has declared a state of emergency regarding the COVID-19 response. By declaring this local emergency, we are falling in line with that. In addition, it does open us up to the federal and state resources. Now, we are receiving assistance from the state right now for resource requests. But in terms of things such as SBA, this declaration will enable us to get SBA loans for businesses. It will enable us to better access larger information that they go to the CurryOEM.com website. That is the Curry Office of Emergency Management. CurryOEM.com. On that website, I am updating that daily with the latest information on COVID-19 as it relates to Curry County. There are forms on that site for businesses to fill out for the SBA process. There are links directly to the Center for Disease Control, the Oregon Health Authority, Curry County Public Health, and as I understand, the governor has launched her website. I will link that in today as well. So that is a one-stop shop, if you will, for information as it relates to this response. So again, there is a declaration before the board. It has been worked on up until last night to make sure any changes are current. Of course, this is an evolving situation, as we well know. With that, Sheree, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I was just Sheree Ward, Public Health Administrator. I know this is a trying time for our global, national, and for our community especially. I do want to thank our community. As much as everybody thinks we are not prepared, it is amazing how a lot of our community members are prepared. I can tell you we just recently got activated in regards to our Joint Information Center. We are starting to try and get some information out there together so we can all have the same message. In regards to the public health infrastructure, we are requesting resources through the state as well as working with our community partners. We just held our first cooperators meeting yesterday in regards to a conference call. So those cooperator meetings are with agencies, local agencies, schools, school superintendents, trying to get us better prepared in the needs and resources of what everybody in our community needs. We are actually vigilantly working on that. As we know, we are low on staff. So at this point in juncture, we are tasking some of our staff in public health that we have in regards to getting together and trying to work with our cooperators in regards to getting better resources posted onto our public health website and county website as well. And that is, if anybody is willing to step up to the plate and want to help us out with resources, that maybe a resource list that they may have already had, I am open to them sending it to us so we can go ahead and get that uploaded onto the website as well. I did want to clarify the Oregon, the governor's website. It is www.oregon.gov/pages/coronavirus 2020-ASPX, and that is the site that is going to give you some information in regards to those small business loans, as that emergency manager was speaking about, that he's going to be updating onto that website as well.
Is that going to be on Jeremy's website?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So we are working diligently and with the hospital, along with our clinics, along with all of the other partners. I did want to let you know in regards to services for public health. Public health is not doing testing. The hospitals and the clinics are doing the testings. As for WIC services, we are still operating our women, infants, and children services right now. Every other Wednesday, we are trying to secure office space. So as you know, we went through a infrastructure change. So we are still trying to provide those services. We are working with the state right now in regards to alternative plans in place should people feel not comfortable coming in to meet with our WIC coordinator on doing things via Skype. so we can make sure that those services are not interrupted, because Women, Infants, and Children program cannot be interrupted, especially during this time. Women still need their food, their, everything to work with their families. So I can tell you right now, our office hours right now is operating in Port Orford today at the old Umpqua building, and we're partnering over there in the conference room today. We are still trying to get that infrastructure in place, so we have not had a lap in services as of yet, so I'm really happy about that. We are doing the best we can to provide those services to our community, but it may end up looking a little bit different. And so if those hours do change or anything does change, it will be updated on our website, as well as how we can better, work with those programs. Environmental health services at the moment is downstairs, and they are actually getting their hands pretty full with all of the different requirements that is happening in regards to shutdowns. So there are some drafts in place with the state, and we are going to be working on those avenues, as well as how to better assist the restaurants, RV services, pools, all of those inspections. So it is a lot on the plate, but we do have resources and able to tap into those if we need to. So I wanted to add.
Commissioner Gold.
I just have one question. As you are collaborating with these various agencies, is there any way we can get the information out to the public so they know what services are available?
And that's what we are actually working on right now. We are getting a list together and trying to get that updated as quick as possible. I'll follow my sword. It's been one heck of a ride.
Oh, I understand.
And we are doing everything we can. It's great that OEM, Emergency Services, it's definitely got a page. So as we are working with that, we're going to update his page and then definitely get our county page updated as the same time as quick as possible.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we just need to have one place where people can get the information and get it quickly. Okay. Thank you so much.
So if you two wouldn't mind, stay up there for questions a little bit. Yes.
Commissioner Boyce, there is the link on the big screen for Curry OEM. Should be bottom right. I think that's it, the Chrome symbol. Up below that one.
Oh, that's so pretty.
That looks like the AOC one. Did you update that today? Good job, by the way, John Jesuit. Did you update that today? That would come in this morning?
No, actually, I have Miss Erin Johnson from Real Creative Design Studio that is managing my site for me.
Okay.
So from our Curry County's just homepage of our website, we have key links, and the first key link says COVID-19 link, and that actually takes you to the Oregon Health
scroll down
Authority.
here.
If you go to the Curry County website,
Yeah, it was
today. Good.
So if you scroll down.
Yeah.
you will go to departments to emergency management, and you will go to this page.
Okay, so from our website, our COVID-19 link on our key links on our homepage takes you to the OHA, not to your emergency management. So we might need to coordinate our web page, links so that we're
Good
only
idea.
going to one. Anyway, that's
Commissioner Pash, are you able? Oops, excuse me, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Council.
Well,
I was done.
I just want to comment that I hope the public understands what Ms. Ward's been up against. Not only getting handed back public health and having to set all that up and deal with the state on everything she's had to deal with on that, but now we've got this handed to us, and I just want to say thank you to you, Ms. Ward, for your staff and your time, all the work that you've done. I'm sure you could probably use a good week's sleep. But just kudos to you guys for doing all you're doing. All I've got is great reports about what you're doing, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, board, and thank you, community. I'm doing this because I care about our community. I could easily go home and sleep. I really could, but I really do care about the community and what's best for the community. So
Thank you so much.
Well, it shows. So, Commissioner Pash, thank you. So, we kind of need to do a little bit of a workshop here. There's been a variety of changes to this document in just the last 24 hours. and I want to ask some questions on that, and I'm hoping you can help me. The first question I have, Mr. Dumeyer, is it your view that the state of Oregon or states in general in the U.S. will not be doing a secondary SBA-related emergency declaration?
No, it's not necessary. I'll reference for you two different disasters that Curry County has experienced in the past year, both of the February storm and the April flooding events. Both those events we submitted similar declarations for, and the state and federal government also submitted declarations very similar in fashion. SBA was available for those events. When there is a state and federally recognized disaster, SBA is opened up as long as your county is either directly affected and or is directly adjoining another county that has declared.
Thank you. Would it be your view, and not that it's that big a deal, I think any progressive action that we can take, though, especially the small county in Oregon with almost the point of how it might be necessary to compete for some of these funds, I'm wondering if, and I'm going to be working with other counties, of course, and you and others, would it be, in your view, inappropriate, appropriate to file a second emergency declaration to the state and watch what they're doing, even to the point of perhaps encouraging the state to do a secondary?
One declaration from the county is sufficient to enact a local emergency, which puts the state on notice that we have a situation that we are dealing with. The state, having filed their declaration of emergency, they have put this federal government on notice, and the federal government has taken that notice and has filed their own emergency. So the process has already been circled at this point. We are still in the response phase of the process. But in terms of SBA, once this document gets submitted to the state, our local emergency has been declared and we are eligible.
Okay, I'll get right to you, Council Huddle. But what you've completed as of last night, is, if I understand correctly, does not mention SBA. It
does
only
not need to.
Well, that's your opinion, and you probably are right. But my concern is, I don't want to drop the ball here, okay? This is just specific, as have been our Curry County emergency declarations in the past, have been specific to when the resources run out. Correct? Okay.
Correct. And
so I'm
again,
going to ask you to research.
That's the same as the February and the April storms, which again, with those same declarations, SBA was opened up.
Okay. So, Council Huddle?
Thanks, Commissioner Boyce. And after former Commissioner Rhodes spoke, I did go on to the SBA website, and I was asking former Commissioner Rhodes for any kind of triggering language and whatnot. And I know Emergency Management Director Dumeyer mentioned past emergencies, but what Commissioner Rhodes was talking about was new legislation since those emergencies, and specific to the coronavirus emergency that we're in. That I don't know that the past declarations, I wouldn't want to presume, I suppose, Commissioner Boyce. And so I understand what Emergency Director Dumeyer is saying, that it's not necessary. However, I don't think it would do any harm to add to our declaration a request that the governor make a request, because when I went to the SBA's website, so far they said only the state of Montana had made the request under the specific economic injury disaster loan assistance under the Coronavirus Preparedness and Response Supplement Appropriations Act. So I think those would be the two type of phraseologies I would suggest, and think that, again, whether it's necessary or not, I don't see any harm in us including that in our resolution up to the governor, so that we are alerting them just in case there is anything else. It's just added language. If it doesn't need to be there, that's okay. It's called surplusage, but just in case, to trigger the Coronavirus Preparedness and Response Supplement Appropriations Act, which certainly wouldn't apply to a tsunami from 2018, or it'd be different. So again, I think I don't see any harm in adding that to our resolution.
Great. Commissioner Gold?
I agree with Council Huddle. I think we need to be prepared. That's what this is all about. So,
Commissioner Rhodes, would you mind standing up with Mr. Dumeyer? Because I'm determined I'm going to get the two of you together. I think you're both very knowledgeable with past experience and training and all the above. And I just wonder, if we followed Council Huddle's recommendation there, do you feel like with the research you've done, that would clarify and contribute to the best possible foot we can move forward on protecting our businesses and getting them assistance?
I do, and the reason for that is understanding the bureaucracy that we deal with on a day-to-day basis in government. You know, the normal business guy, he's going to go online and just, you know, take it for granted whatever they tell him is what he needs. Maybe E is a proper link, but most business guys are going to go to the SBA website, and they're going to get the information that Mr. Huddle just said. They're going to go, they're going to say a expletive word and say, you know, there's the government working for us again. Couldn't get to those resources. So I think any language that can be included that would help make sure that every effort that any individual makes to access these funds is as simple and as easy as possible. And if that means just going to the SBA website, being able to put that you're from Oregon and that you're from Curry County, and they're going to let you get onto that website and finish your application, then to me, it's a no-brainer. Put that language in there.
Excellent insight. I wish I could hear you say exactly that again. Maybe we'll get you another chance. Your thoughts on that, EMC Dumeier?
Well, it's very easy for us to add economic injury to the declaration. We'll go ahead and do that.
Specific to SBA and what our long-term goals are there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we all seem to be on the same page here. Any other questions? Commissioner Pash?
Yes.
Did you have any comments on, it looks like we're going to combine, at least for now, the two aspects of this county emergency declaration that we're sending to the governor's office.
Right. Now, Commissioner Boyce, I want to interject real quick if I can. Do you have the current declaration? Because that is the one that was written on Monday.
I do, but I got it late this morning, so I'm not sure why all the changes, because basically, wait, I want to hear from Commissioner Pash, and then we'll come to you. Commissioner Pash, go ahead, please.
Well, I just wanted to comment, if you want to add those extra things into there, I don't see any harm in it. I will say, having dealt with it in the past, the SBA and FEMA, in most cases, are automatically opened up to states and counties for disaster relief as soon as you declare. So it'll not only open up the SBA, but it'll open up FEMA to the community as well.
And that is correct.
Anything else, Commissioner Pash?
That's all right now.
Thank you.
So again, the declaration that you have on the screen right now, that was written on Monday. As we know, this is an emerging situation, and it has been discussed widely, the need for various changes in it. So in the highlighted section, I want to point this out. The whereas, the changes on this include, whereas this declaration is in support of COVID-19 public health response, and Curry County residents are encouraged to follow Oregon Health Authority, OHA, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC guidelines. That has been amended to the current declaration. Also further down on the whereas, the governor has declared a state of emergency in support of the COVID-19 public health response and has imposed social distancing measures. So those are the two key changes that have been worked on in particular to this. And again, we will go ahead and add the economic injury aspect to this declaration before it is signed and sent up to the OEM.
So I'm just reading this that I got this morning. The changes you made, basically what I submitted to the board, Director Smelzer, on Friday, okay? This is what we had Monday, and the second line is why I was a bit alarmed on it is not a public health emergency. That was number one. Number two, the commissioners are not included down here at the bottom in this process, in this long-term objective. And then I'm not sure why we're requesting a governor's declaration of state of emergency. Maybe we are right here at this point now to where we do need to declare another one. So we haven't. I'm Sorry, I am very, very confusing here. My apologies, Direct Coordinator Dumeyer. So we have this connecting with the state, right?
Correct. We are going to submit
On
this
the
to the state.
on the subtitle here, okay, and we're explain to the public the language we're changing here when you mentioned that otherwise gone with daily lives and
That is
that
no longer in there.
okay, thank you. Why did you remove that?
Because again, this is an evolving situation.
So just since Monday about this time.
When this was drafted and submitted Monday at noon, the governor had not given her presentation. And again, this has evolved changes. As it is with emergency management, you're always flexible. You're always having to adapt to what comes up. So again, that line is no longer valid. This document you have on the screen is not valid.
So you believe we do have a public health emergency?
I am not going to say that we do have a public health emergency. Again, we do not have any positive cases of COVID-19 in Curry County, Coos County, or Del Norte County. However, we are leaning forward in preparation for response.
Okay, we know that the governor has declared a state of emergency, closing the schools, businesses,
Until
everything.
April 28th, that is correct.
Okay, and you're right that her declaration come out 3 o'clock on Monday, I think.
And I will
Yeah.
say, Commissioner Boyce,
Yes, go ahead.
yeah, the governor, from what I understand, declared Curry County as a low-risk county.
But we don't have to accept that, correct, Commissioner? Necessarily?
I'm not saying we do. I'm just letting you know what he declared.
Okay, Commissioner Gold?
I think you did the right thing in eliminating that, but you also added, we are encouraged to follow Oregon Health Authority, OHA, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines.
Yes.
And that helps if we become a public health emergency.
It also helps, I agree, and thank you for that. I also believe it helps that in the preparedness and prevention side of it. And again, those direct links are on the Curry OEM webpage, so people can go there and follow those guidelines as those do evolve even currently.
And they're going to be changing.
Yes.
So we're covering it.
Yes.
So Commissioner Gold, did you get a copy of this this morning via email, or was that from Staff Jesuit?
I got copies from Staff Jesuit, but I also gave everybody a copy here.
Thank you. That's how I first received it. I appreciate that. Commissioner Pash, any other questions?
The only other thing I see that you might want to look into, Staff Jesuit on this, is the second page is only a signature page. You may want to label these as page 1 of 2, page 2 of 2, and or increase or decrease the font so that it's part of the resolution sits on both pages so that it's clear that it's the sewer image.
Commissioner Pash, bottom of page 1, the main paragraph where it says, right in the middle there, directs the Curry County Office of Emergency Management and Curry County Public Health. Do you want the Curry Board of Commissioners included in that sentence, understanding our responsibilities?
I mean, we can add the Curry County BOC as well, but I actually think the language in this needs to be changed. One other thing I was going to add before we moved on is, you know, the sheriff is, you know, he's the controlling interest for the safety of our county, and I'm saying that only for lack of a better term. But the sheriff is the, you know, he's got his pulse on the entire county all the time. So I think a lot of this stuff should be handled in cooperation or in coordination with the sheriff's department, so that he's not exhausting resources somewhere in the county that is not needed, that some, you know, emergency management might be taken care of, or public health is already taken care of. So, you know, I don't know, changing that language somehow to say that, you know, in coordination with the sheriff's department, and just keeping the sheriff up to date, because whether it's John Ward or our next sheriff for something else, and I know this only covers COVID, but, you know, the sheriff, he knows where the resources are in the county, and he knows whether he needs to have help give him direction if he's kind of, you know, the go-to person to give information.
Very well said. Agreed. And Commissioner Gold, did you have something?
I just wanted to say the commissioners are basically over you, but you are the ones that are going to be feeding us information. Our emergency management and health administrator, and I think it's important that we use your expertise. We as commissioners, quite frankly, don't have that expertise, and we need to be getting information from you so that we can make wise decisions for the public.
So, Commissioner Patch, do you agree with what Commissioner Gold just said, that we don't have, why are we here if we don't have any expertise or common sense logic in our responsibility here? What are your thoughts on that? And then I'm going to go to Emergency Management Coordinator Dumeier.
Well, two things real quick. It is 10:20, and I know we have, there are state rules that we have to follow on a break, just for your knowledge, Commissioner Boyce. But to answer your question, I would say, you know, me as a commissioner, and I would hope the entire board is, you know, we're not the boss of anything. What we are is a group of people that have been elected by the citizens to do what we think is the best thing for the citizens. And what I've always said in my life is, I like department heads to run the departments. I like people that are the experts in their fields to run their fields, and give us a bunch, if we can help them, give us the information that they need so that if they need a change, that's what I think commissioners are for, is to do more of that than we are to make public decisions to try and, you know, subvert or go around department heads and what in case, especially in case like that.
So you just use the word subvert. So you are not in favor, that surprises me, because all the other counties, well, not all of them, but most of the other counties put the responsibility solely on the commissioners, and that's not to in any way imply that there isn't a serious respect and dependency on the people that are representing us. So I take it from that you are not in favor, after that would be the fourth line after Curry County Public Health, adding and the Board of Commissioners to take all necessary steps. Is that correct?
Just stand by. Let me read the line one more time.
Thank you.
Well, and if I may, as he's viewing that, so in terms of the sheriff, he is a cooperator in our process, of course, and so he is kept in the loop. He is part of our meetings, and you know, he has those resources, as was mentioned. So again, he is one of the cooperators, as is the health district, as are the firefighters, as are the EMS volunteers and such. In terms of the Board of Commissioners, I'll put this very bluntly, you are the policymakers. And you guys are to be informed as it informs policy for the county. It is my job, it is Cherie's job to be the boots on the ground, to be the county commissioners in here as it relates to this paragraph, because again, you're the policy, you're not the boots on the ground. And I apologize if that is a counter to what you're saying, what you want, but you are the policymaker, and we need you to enact policy, not the response.
So that disturbs you. Okay, so I understand that.
Well, again, that's
Commissioner
based
Patch,
on
did you have something else you wanted to add, or you were going to review there real quickly?
Yeah, I did. I think if I were going to ask anyone else to name to put in this, I would say it would be our Director of Operations, because she has ongoing relationship with public health and emergency management. She's brought up to almost daily on the situation around the county. And at that point, if that person, whether it's Mr. Melzer or whoever, determines that it's something that is important for the Board of Commissioners to deal with immediately, she can contact us and give us the information, and we can call a meeting if it's necessary.
Yes, please come up, Commissioner Gold. What did I say? Excuse me. Sorry, Commissioner
I think
Gold.
you want to look at the resolution. The emergency powers are actually granted to the Board of Commissioners by the ORS that's stated here. So you can't change the ORS. The Board of Commissioners doesn't have that authority. So what you have to do is the resolution has to include the language that allows for the resolution to be appropriate, and that's given by the ORS. So what you want to do is, if you change this language, you have to go back and create a resolution that's not based on the creation by the ORS 401.305. The other thing I would suggest is when you do look at this resolution and finally get it solved, is that you designate signature authority either to the vice chair, or if the chair is going to be back, to the chair, so that you don't have to run down all the commissioners to get it signed. That's how important this is to me. You want to get this paperwork done, get it to the governor's office as quickly as possible.
So stay there if you would. Council Huddle, so just some minor changes that I think we can all accept. How could we record that? Could Staff Jesuit fulfill that task here? And I think we might just be talking about 2. And that's basically a reference to SBA and having this be a dual purpose emergency declaration.
Well, there
Right.
again, whatever the purpose of the declaration is, it has to be justified either by a statute or OSR. And you can't just file a declaration saying it's a declaration. So what you have to do is research the justification for the declaration, and that has to be a part of the body of the declaration, as I understand it.
Okay. Council Huddle.
Well, I'd like to ask if I could, please, Council Huddle. I know Commissioner Rhodes, you referenced ORS 401-305, and I just want to ask Council Huddle, does this paragraph meet the qualifications of that ORS? And if it doesn't, what would you recommend?
Thank you. ORS 401-305, I'm just pulling it up right now. It doesn't have a lot of requirements, but it does have the, it says that we shall appoint an emergency program manager who's responsible for organization, administration, and operation of the emergency management agency, subject to the direction and control of the county, which is the Board of Commissioners. So the direction and control of the emergency management agency is subject to the Board of Commissioners. And then what it says is the declaration of emergency is under 401-309, and 401-309, the declaration of emergency, says the governing body of a city or county of the state may declare by ordinance or resolution that a state of emergency exists within the city or county. It must limit the duration of the state of emergency to the period of time during which conditions giving rise to the declaration exist or are likely to remain in existence. And so then it says you can establish procedures to carry out and prevent and respond to an emergency. It shall describe the conditions required for the declaration. I believe we've established that, the COVID issue. And then it says it may designate the emergency management agency or any other agency or official of the city or county charged with carrying out functions and duties. So our ordinance meets those. It says we have described the issues relating, or our resolution meets those. We've described the issues constituting the emergency, the COVID issue. We have delegated in here to the emergency manager and to the local public health administrator the duties to coordinate our response with the state and federal agencies primarily. We did not include the sheriff. If you and I think Director Dumeyer's presentation began with him stating that since the time of the governor declaring emergency, a dozen or more counties in Oregon have also declared emergencies. I've surveyed several of those. I've found the ones I could and provided them to the board and also to Director Dumeyer. Give you, for instance, our past ordinances have specifically authorized the sheriff to take actions necessary. There may, and one county, Benton County, included the declaration, included authorizing the sheriff, as Commissioner Pash has suggested. I don't have an issue with that. And then it says, you know, the Emergency Management Division, of course, in Benton County, the Emergency Management Division is under the sheriff, so that may be why they did that. But regardless, they also, and what I would suggest, if I could, our emergency management, our ordinance, or our resolution, excuse me, it just had one directive at the end. It just said that that we would and I'd also include 309, declare a local state of emergency exists within the county, and then that would be one. And then number two, it says it directs the Curry County Office of Emergency Management to take all necessary. I would do, authorized direct, and then another, do one, authorized Director Office of Emergency Management, two, authorize Curry local public health administrator to take all necessary actions, 3, Director of Operations, and 4, Sheriff. Put all those in there. Those would be, and then the other declarations also say, for instance, Yamhill County says the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners, and that's collective. So again, shall be authorized to take such action and issue such orders as are determined to be necessary to protect public life and property. The other thing is, I would recommend, as we talked about earlier, including the specific language to trigger, if we could, the Coronavirus Preparedness and Response Supplement Appropriations Act. And then also the other declarations of emergency that I saw that I was interested in including in here, they declare an emergency for procurement of goods. In other words, now we can now procure goods under our emergency procurement. They also say, with regard to employees, we modify relevant personnel leave processes. We may need to do some emergency hiring. I think Commissioner Gold wanted to put on the discussion today that we make some emergency hires. I don't know if we have people in mind, but if we include emergency hiring powers in this emergency declaration. So a local emergency declaration allows us to change our own way of operating, our localness, and then also add to the request to the state to make a further request for assistance and to request assistance from the feds. And I think Director Dumeier would agree, we can't just go directly to the feds. We have to go through the state and request the state to go to the feds. So we have I don't think we need, Commissioner Boyce or Vice Chair Boyce, you mentioned we need a second declaration. We just need one declaration, and it can do all these things. It declares a local emergency, requests state and federal assistance, and then it suspends some of our rules and modifies some of our rules. But we break it down into, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of these other ones, I've seen 7 different paragraphs under what they're saying should be done. And what I'd like to do is, my recommendations is we keep what Director Dumeier has put, and then we add a few other things to it that I don't think harm our intentions of triggering state and federal assistance, but they give us more flexibility at the local level to do things that we have control over. So those are just
I
my
think you're saying we can
recommendations.
keep it simple and still be very effective here and get it done today with amendments. I would entertain a motion at the right time here. I do apologize to the board. I got totally confused with the county requesting a governor's declaration of state of emergency. They did that on Monday. So I was trying to figure out if we were asking for a second one. So I didn't communicate that very well. And I don't, and I think you're correct, I don't anticipate another one from the state if you're correct in your analysis. So, Mr. Barnes, anybody else need to speak here? The last of the public comments, I think.
Probably. David Barnes. I've been reading this and corresponding back and forth with people about this for a few days now, and I would like to recommend that you approve this as written. Add a section, as Mr. Rhodes recommended, about the SBA, which kicks you onto the second page for your signature, having the second page for signature. And if you're going to do anything with the bottom now, therefore the board resolves, I would add Sheriff Ward to it. He is the one who is in charge, as you keep reminding us, he's the one who's in charge of public safety and the personal safety of the people in this county. If anybody else should be added to it, I would recommend it to be the sheriff. Thank you.
Commissioner Pash, I think you have agreement on that. And we can combine that with what Council Huddle just communicated on how we can proceed with this today. Is that your understanding? Commissioner Gold?
Okay, my understanding is this, and I want to make sure the understanding is clear before we go further, that we are going to add a section about SBA, which is good. And down at the bottom, therefore, we resolve, and then we add one more individual, the sheriff, to that.
Council Huddle, and then we're going to come back to you, Commissioner Pash. I think you had something else there.
Thank you. So what I'm recommending is we keep what Director Dumeier has presented and we add to it. We also break it down into component parts. He has it saying that the emergency management director will do emergency management director and I think you called it the, sorry, Jeremy.
Public health, isn't it?
Yeah, you called it the Curry County Public Health, and actually I think we should just call that our local public health administrator, which is her title and her statutory status, and that we say, one, emergency management director do these things, two, local public health administrator do these things, three, I think we could add director of operations. Other counties who have administrators have delegated to the administrator things. I think Commissioner Pash, someone I heard in the conversation mentioned director of operations, and then four, sheriff. So instead of just one paragraph, we now have four subparagraphs. Other counties have mentioned the Board of County Commissioners are authorized to take further actions as necessary. We could do that. Again, that's a collective where the Board of Commissioners, I know former Commissioner Rhodes recommended a signature authority to a chair, but I think with the different operators that we have, sheriff, emergency management coordinator, the local public health administrator, and the director of operations, I think if there's something they can't handle, then they can come to the board. But in the meantime, we also add that we're allowing amendment to our personnel rules or suspending the personnel rules, and we're declaring emergency for contracting. So really, and then of course the SBA Coronavirus Preparedness Response Supplemental Appropriations Act recommendation. So that would be a summary of everything that I can think of that we've talked about today. And I see kind of a nod from Director Dumeier. I'm wondering if the board had any other questions about that. With that, I would direct my assistant, or we are, as Commissioner Pash or Chair Pash reminded us, due for a break. I think within a break, I could get that cobbled up, bring it back to Director Dumeier for the board, email it to Chair Pash, and after the break, we could then read it at one time all the way through, and then the board can act.
You're that good. You're that good. Commissioner Gold.
I agree with your method. I'd like to read it before I sign it,
of course,
or even make a motion. So,
yep.
Great idea.
And you and Staff Jesuit have that reasonably well recorded, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I've got I know what I'm thinking of, and I'll work with Director Dumeier during the break and my assistant during the break to get something presentable for the board after the break that we can present to everyone in the meeting.
So, Commissioner Pash, before we go to break, I sent District Attorney Spansel back to his office because of the delay. He's still here? Could we have a couple of, as opposed to holding them up any longer, they've been here an hour and 30 minutes, could we have them come in real quick? And did you have anything else, Mr. Dumeier?
Not this time.
Okay, so could we have them come in? Doesn't matter which one of you is first. I really am sorry for the delay. This was a huge issue. So welcome.
Thank you. The District Attorney's Office, thank you, Commissioner Gold, Chair Pash on the phone, Commissioner Boyce. Try to be brief. Biggest change, obviously, is I'm the District Attorney now. As you guys know, Mr. Dial retired at the end of January. We had a interim DA for a couple weeks in February, and I was appointed by the governor on the 26th of February. So I've been in office for about 4 years, so nothing has really changed. It's been a pretty smooth transition. Day to day, nothing's really changed. We're trying to update forms, policies, things like that, bring things back or into the 21st century. Mr. Dial, I think he would have still been using keyboards if he had the opportunity. But so we're trying to do things like emailing discovery to attorneys, things like that. And we're putting a computer down in the law library so the public can do legal research on a computer instead of with the books. But you know, I'm not going to talk about a lot of the things that I had to say, but I'm just very lucky to have a great team in my office. We've worked together for a long time, so we all get along great, and things are moving right along. With the COVID-19 situation, some things have changed with the state courts. They are trying to limit any out-of-custody hearings. So anybody who's not in jail, they are pushing those hearings out into May at this point, or late April. They're continuing those trials that they had. That we had 13 trials set in the first 2 weeks of April, and most of those are being set out. They're being continued. The in-custody people who have a constitutional statutory right to have their trial within 60 days, those trials are still going to go. There's only 2 of those at this point for April. But crime's not going to stop. We're still going to be filing plenty of district attorney's informations, filing charges against people, and it's just once court starts going again, we're going to be very backed up. And there's only 2 attorneys in the office, myself and Mr. Kelly. We lost, obviously, Mr. Dial and another deputy district attorney, Cassandra Ban, who went on to Jefferson County. So we're going to be stretched pretty thin in the coming months once we do get started going again. But there's plenty of work to do in the office, so I don't see a lot of changes other than not going to court as often, and obviously that's a big part of our job. We've been canceling meetings that we have every month. Those aren't going to happen in April or March. And there was a child abuse conference in Portland that's put on every year that Mr. Kelly was going to go to, which has been canceled. But that's about it from me for the updates, I think. Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Pash?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. District Attorney.
Yes,
welcome
thank you.
again. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to say, I see Director Lang is next. The Juvenile Department, I work with Wendy a lot on juvenile delinquency matters. Her and her staff do incredibly important work, and honestly, they are truly changing the lives of children in this community. So I want to thank her for that. And thank you guys.
Thanks again. Welcome, Director Lang.
Thank you very much. Thanks for letting us jump in real quick. I apologize, Commissioner Boyce. I know you'd asked that I brought staff and introduced them, but things are pretty crazy in our office right now. We waited a little bit, but they had to get back. So I would like to bring them at another time and let everybody kind of put a name to a face. With this whole coronavirus thing, our staff actually, kind of in-house, we're looking at a little bit of crisis and concern going on. I think people don't realize in the world of juvenile justice, when you take face-to-face contacts away, when you take resources away, when you take school days away from youth who are struggling, there's some issues that we need to look at. And so the rest of today is being spent on that, but my probation officers are being trauma. Right now we have 60